that we're about to start building steel sections for Fincantieri Marinette Marine LCS project right here in Sturgeon Bay. So we're going to be building sections starting very soon. We'll be actively shifting some of that workload to Sturgeon Bay by mid-November, next month that is, and we'll be barging steel sections for LCS 19, 21, and 23 to Marinette from Sturgeon Bay starting next spring. The actual production of that work is going to start here very shortly. So that will put the second of the two buildings in production here by what we expect to be by mid-November of this year. As I said, building 420 and 422, which house the work that I just spoke about, have already gone through some significant renovations to effectively process this work. We also have nearly 80%, we are also nearly 80% complete with a significant upgrade and refurbishment of the office spaces that were on the 128 Kentucky Street building here that were the Palmer Johnson's offices. Those improvements include, but are not limited to, new walls, plaster paint, flooring, additional windows. We've added some windows to give some light and brighten up the offices. We're replacing a number of windows that were bad. We're putting new energy efficient heating and cooling and replacing all the lighting to energy efficient LED lights in that building. That's already going on and beyond, above and beyond this variance, some things that we've got going on. An elevator for access to the upper level for the ADA compliance is going to be added too. And I might add that for the most part, this work is all being done by local contractors in Dorrington County, which I'm happy about. Which brings us to the current subject of renovating what we're calling our 411 building. And again, as I bring the map up, it'll make a little bit more sense here after the opening comments. Our 411 building, which we call the main construction bay of the Palmer Johnson facility. As noted in the variance request, this building was used for constructing aluminum luxury yachts, with aluminum luxury yacht fabrication in mind. That's what the building was built for, and that's how it was laid out. You know, as we know now, unfortunately, that line of fabrication business has left Sturgeon Bay. The new construction markets and the opportunities that we see will be in steel ferry boats. We see large-scale fishing boats and tugboats as opportunities that we've targeted for that facility. Again, it wasn't too much of a secret during the acquisition process. We were talking about that facility being tailor-made for that in terms of the footprint, with some renovations that would have to take place. Again, one of the reasons for the PJ's facility was so attractive to us was our ability to compete in these markets against our southern competitors, and adding efficiency and nearly an all indoor construction process to these boats. Of course, you know, many of the yards down south don't have to deal with winter weather and the things that we do have to deal with up here, and we found a way to be very competitive with them in our current markets, and we feel that this addition will help us in that market. Going into this acquisition, we recognized that the current PJ facility lacked in lift capacity and clear opening to the door for this business. We knew that it lacked in that area. Once the acquisition was completed, we were able to engage in serious engineering studies. Some of that engineering work was destructive. We had to cut the floors apart. We had to dig into some of the cement footings and things of that fashion to see what was down in these areas, so that we really could lay out a good plan to move forward. Of course, they wouldn't let us do that until the acquisition was completed. We wanted us tearing a building apart to figure out what we had to do to bring it back up. So some of that we engaged into. We entered into an agreement with 4 different engineering build partners for our renovation proposal. We posed our current situation to them. You know, here's the building as it sits and as it was purchased, and we posed to them what we had hoped to achieve through the renovation process to each one of these contractors. And at the end of the day, we chose Myron Construction, as represented today here by Mike Ledvina, as our engineering and building partner. We felt that they gave us the best opportunity to achieve our goals and seemed to be the most engaged, and gave us the better of all the ideas that we felt were out there. Again, we're happy to have them on board. Our engineering study proved what we suspected, that the current floor load capacity, construction bay height, and the building's current structure could not support added crane lift capacity required for our production needs. So again, we expected that, and as we went through the destructive testing, that proved that. Our proposed project will substantially improve the 411 building that we're talking about, including the floor will be reconstructed to support much heavier vessels than what it is able to support right now. The cement at the end of the day will be some 14 inches thick with several layers of rebar to support the keel load that we intend to have. The crane capacity will be increased to 4 50-ton cranes. Right now, there's a handful of 3-ton cranes that operate in the overhead of these buildings, so that'll be increased to 4 separate 50-ton buildings. The construction bay will be modified to include two main bays and a clear door height of approximately 57 feet, so that we can get full sections of these lines of product here out the door. Nearly full tugs constructed inside fishing vessels or ferries. And then there's also going to be energy efficient heating and lighting that will be added to this area as we do raise the roof. The current building height restriction is 65 feet, and our proposal asks for the variance to accommodate an additional 10 feet up to 75 feet. Just some additional facts and information to consider, to think about when considering this request. That statement can be misleading. The fact that the current building restriction is 65 and we're asking for 75. The current height of the Palmer Johnson 411 building is 45 feet. Already the existing building on the former Palmer Johnson's property, we have a 58-foot building, and there's a 60-foot building already on that property. And just for a point of reference, our building 311, which is our main fabrication building in the Bay Ship complex, is 80 feet tall. Kind of gives you a lay of what's around this. The variance is important for FBS to remain competitive in the shipbuilding industry. The capacity to assemble steel vessels in an enclosed building will help FBS compete with these southern shipyards that are very aggressive right now because of the climate, and certainly the favorable weather conditions, talking about winter. It will assist Fincantieri in maintaining its productivity and year-round employment at the shipyard, and a number of other things. So with that in mind, I'm going to go into the presentation here and point out pictorially and again isometrically some of what we're talking about. It may help us understand a tad bit more here. I'm thinking this thing might work here. Yes, it does. Okay, so this basically is an aerial of Bay Shipbuilding as it exists now, and this is basically to give you. Can you hear me? All right. Your neighbors, that would affect you. Okay, 311, as we're talking about right here, is our fabrication facility that is 80 feet high. When we talk about building 411 and those 400 series buildings, I don't know if anybody here really knows where these are located, but 422 is the building that's adjacent to the Mellon building right now and the old winery. We've labeled that 422, that's our paint facility. 420, the building on the west side of First Avenue, and alongside of Ross Schmalz's property, is the one that we would be building the LCS sections that we spoke of, that we are going to be building the LCS sections. These two buildings have already gone through major renovations. The building we're talking about here, in terms of the raising of the roof, is building 411. 451 is the long construction bay that's alongside the nautical that was built a number of years ago by Palmer's, and then the office building is what we're referring to as 407. So that'll give you a little bit of the lay of land as we go through this, and we use those numbers of buildings. I don't want to take it for granted. Everybody understands what we might be talking about here. So again, as we look at the aerial here of the main complex of the former Palmer Johnson, the area that's hatched, 420, is the actual area that's going to be going up. The area that's 411, yeah, 411. The area that's alongside, which is the 451 building, you'll see in one of the isometrics later, receives a pitch on the roof to direct the water in floor drain. So this is the main office of the Palmer Johnson building. This is the front entry. So you'll see that of this entire complex, roughly about half of it, the area that's labeled 420, is the area that will be lifted, pending approval of the variance, of course. Again, this would be a view from 2nd Street to Kentucky, what it would look like. So this is the area that we're speaking about, that we would rise above the existing level of the buildings. Again, this is the front office area, which many of you may have driven by. It's going through some painting and renovating now. This is a view looking west from Jefferson Street. So as you'll see, the current building height is 45 feet. The current variance approval that Palmer Johnson received in 2008 is 65 feet. It looks as though our proposed building height right now, with the engineering work that is done, looks like it'll be about 73. And of course, the variance request is for 75. So this kind of gives you a view as to what that might look like from that side. Okay, this would be the view looking south from Bay Shipbuilding. So if you were coming down First Avenue and you were to look to the south, again, you see this is the building 451 right now. That's a flat roof that pitches back against the existing building. That pitch is going to be reversed, and the rainwater will be drained into a series of drains that will come down the building and go into the storm sewers. That has to be put on due to snow loads and those types of engineering reasons. Again, this is the expansion we're talking about up in this area. These are the two doors that will be installed. They will be mega doors, a clear door very similar to the door in our south building 311 now that we put in a couple of years ago. They're high efficiency doors that allow light to come through, so they seem to be pretty effective. Again, another view from First Avenue facing north. The building right as you see here. Okay. So, you know, as we thought about what we were coming here to talk about today, you know, what might people be concerned about? I understand there's a number of concerns, and rightfully so. So this is the view down Jefferson Street, and of course, you know, we're looking at this building right here, which is the building that we're going to build the LCS sections in. That's at the end of Jefferson Street, and this is the Palmer Johnson base building, main construction building as it exists today. What we're proposing here in a pictorial essence is what it will look like after the building height is raised. Again, this is a view up Jefferson Street. Is this about 4th Avenue that we snapped at? 4th or 5th Avenue? 7th? Okay, so, you know, here's after, and again, you can study and see the skyline, and after it's in position, that's about what we believe the view might look like at that point. And then this is somewhat of a 3D flyby type setting here that gives you kind of a 360-degree view of the extension of the building. Again, this being where we're extending in this area here, that's being the snow load. Caissons underneath to support the load that we expect to be put on with the crane.
Those are new caissons?
Yeah, those are new caissons. Be part of the project. So, to that end, that's I guess in a nutshell what our request is here, along with the documentation. There are a number of drawings, obviously, that you have in your packet that we didn't put up on the PowerPoint presentation, and some of these in the PowerPoint presentation were not in your packet. So, it's appropriate now to take questions from the board. Phil, or?